Sup? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me we have some more RPG horror stories. I've been playing through Baldur's Gate with Mary and Micah, and at some point, I promise those videos will be edited properly. I've so many projects I've been working on the side. I think I need like a second Morrow to work with in order to even get everything done. I'll get it done eventually. It's just I put a lot on my plate. While I get that dilemma figured out in my IRL, I might get to the first RPG horror story for the day. No, I would never pick on just one of you. This guy was the definition of problem player. Whenever he was a PC or DM, he always started problems. When he was a PC, he would sabotage the campaign by playing problematic characters. Some examples of him in character creation are making a character that's strictly to force PvP even though we had a standing rule against it. Making a character that was the opposite of one other PC because he didn't like the player personally. Even going as far as making a character that was entirely antithetical to the campaign. When actually playing, he would constantly start fights among players and characters alike. We'd warned him not to do that anymore, but he refused to listen and even played victim, blaming it on stress from his job in college. When he wasn't causing fights, he would be on his phone. He also always complained that we played favorites and never gave him a story arc. The thing was, we did. But he always complained, even if it's exactly what he asked for. And his most common reason why, that's not how I would have DM'd it. The final thing is he would badmouth any while DMing with a southern bless your heart tone. He was always a pretentious Wow, that sounds generally insufferable. I'm surprised you guys didn't kick him out early on. Imagine if you're DMing a game, right? You're the DM and you're trying your very best to give your character a story that's part of their backstory and trying to make it relevant to the campaign. And he just goes with, I don't like it because that's not how I would have DM'd it. I would have done it so much better. And then with a bit of like, bless your heart kind of attitude. I know people like that. I live in North Carolina and I've seen a lot of pretentious people that cover up their pretentiousness and their rudeness with like that bless your heart kind of thing, trying to be all southern hospitality, all sweet and stuff, but in the end they're just kind of an asshole and it's difficult to be around them because they're just insufferable. It's not my problem, it's your problem that you take offense to everything that I say. Oh gee, thanks, maybe you should just stop being a rude fuck. His DMing was somehow worse. He would openly make puzzles extra difficult or obscure so you can feel superior, including outright refusing a success roll because we put the pieces together too fast. Oh my god. To deny somebody a success roll because what, they figured it out too fast? I would feel ecstatic if my players figured it out so fast. I'd be like, oh my god, thank god we didn't spend like a full 9 hours on this puzzle. And that's why I try not to put too many puzzles. I try to put the most simplest puzzles possible and just see what the players do. And usually more often than not, a little bit of a secret to my players, but usually more often than not, whatever they come up with as a solution, if it makes logical sense, I'd be like, yeah, that works. Making puzzles can only be so fun, but if you make a puzzle that makes the entire campaign ride or die because of its complexity, that's not really a good puzzle. Imagine the campaign dying because players couldn't solve a puzzle. We've seen some RPG horror stories where the campaign literally died because the players couldn't solve a puzzle. Constantly called himself God, and his major ego constantly got bruised if he didn't figure out the puzzle, or if he figured out too fast. One time he even made me call him God before he would acknowledge a roll. The player he didn't like was in constant hell, while problem player DM'd. Just for the record, the player never did anything to him. He was never mean or had disagreements on or off the table. He just had a problem with him for no reason. He made his players stay separated from the party the first 5 sessions because of the race the player picked. On top of giving another player extra stuff just because they consulted him on a background, even though he forced all of us to do the same, having to approve our characters for his homebrew world. He even nerfed the same guy for doing too much damage. He was playing a paladin with smite. That's what you do! As somebody who's seen paladins do smite damage, oh, it sounds so fun. It sounds such a blast. I want to make a paladin one day. He even went as far as to rip apart everything in his character's backstory to the point by session 7, he had him become a barbarian. The guy was miserable for most of the campaign. Thank god it only lasted a month longer than that. By session 7, I think you guys will probably not want to have this guy as a DM. I'm surprised. Y'all have nerves of steel out there to be able to deal with problem players and just not be like, alright, I'm bowing out. Bye. Sorry, I ain't playing with your crap game. The game sucks, buddy. I ain't playing it. Bye. It was just miserable for all of us because it was always, what drawback is the entire party going to have to deal with just because he is on a power trip today? Or how much is he going to pick on this one kid and make all of us uncomfortable? Well, most of us. I asked the fourth PC of the campaign to talk to the problem player and tell him to chill, since they were friends for more than D&D. And he said it was fine and he didn't see a problem with anything, that the guy was just stressed. Stress or no stress, I mean, here's the thing, right? At that point, that just makes me think the guy was just taking that out on everybody else only because he's stressed. Oh man, my day is going bad. My girlfriend break up, my dick don't work. What should I do today? Try to resolve the problems in a healthy manner and try to get through these issues myself? No, I'll bully these players because they deserve it. They're my targets for today. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter what kind of crappy thing you go with or how much stress you're dealing with, the last thing you want to do is bring that stress over to D&D. Hey, guess what? If I am stressed out like crazy and I literally can't handle a session, I'll just tell my players, hey guys, can we move it to next week? I literally can't do for today. And guess what? Everybody's cool with that. And same thing for when my players are completely out of it for the week and just don't have it in them to want to play D&D. That's fine. That's okay. Because guess what? Taking care of yourself is an important thing. And you should probably find a healthy way to deal with it instead of bullying people because just cause. His bullying and harassment got so bad to the player, I actually called him out mid-game for all the crap. What followed was a toddler's tantrum because he got told off. He actually told me and the guy he was bullying to go frick ourselves and brought up a bunch of personal stuff in front of the whole group. The silver lining was me, my significant other, and the bully player started a new group and will block the problem player on everything. Oh my god, what a satisfying end. I am so happy for you guys. Thank you so much for doing the right thing. If you were to tell me, we're gonna see this guy next session, I would be like, run as fast as you can. Edit to add. Everyone's gonna ask how it lasted so long. This is over a couple of years, just getting really bad recently. And the player who was being bullied wouldn't let us say anything more because he didn't want to lose his one table for D&D. My significant other had a couple other friends asked to play, and we took that as an out. We've all been doing much better. No D&D is much better than bad D&D, that's for sure. Now I feel bad for the player that's bullied. Man, that kind of sucks, dude. Imagine you getting picked on, but you want to stay at the table because everybody else is having fun. That's what your friends are, and technically, aside from the crappy DM, you like the company there, and you like the experience of playing with these people. Man, that's... oh, my heart out goes out to the bully player. For real though, this DM sucks, dude. Sucks so much. Get to the next story. Maybe something a little more refreshing. DM and best friend inspire a full table mutiny. Edit for the TLDR at the end, the not safe for word tag is very mild. It's for one brief part of the story for which I employ euphemisms. But be warned. Oh, euphemisms, they're gonna say the word cucumber instead of penis. Oh, scary. I played 3.5 from the age of 6 to 16. But left D&D out of high school as I became super work focused. As I hit 30 and was a stably employed author with a family, I finally had the time to get back into it, and 5e was relatively new. I found a local mead hall and found out they ran a game on Sundays, and they were open to new players. The main cast, me as the rogue, DM, the sorcerer who was the DM's best friend. A secondary cast are Bard who owned the mead hall, cleric, and fighter, who won't feature in most of the story but are a big part of the resolution. For my first game, I brought a favorite character to my childhood, Tuhin, my half-elf rogue. We were level 3 and I chose the very general thief subclass as I was just getting back into things. The very first red flag was in a private chat with the DM before the game. You are super racist against orcs, that's very important. And also, your elven family would have spurned and hated you for your impure blood. I did not want to play as a racist character. That's just not something I'm comfortable with. But I didn't want to rock the boat, so I say, okay, I don't love that. Isn't it possible that being raised by people who were very racist towards me would have inspired some empathy? That maybe I'd be more understanding about the way people view orcs, since half my family treated me that same way? Yeah, being forced to play as a racist character without you choosing what kind of character you want to play, I mean, that's a big red flag right there. If the DM tells you have to play a character a specific way, that's kind of a problem. Present the world that you have and say that these are the dynamics that you have going on, and then let the player decide and choose. Let the player decide how they want to play their character. No, you be super racist towards orcs. Absolutely. That's just the facts. Last time not being clear, these were basically his exact words. He didn't say I'd hate orcs or be biased against them. He said I'll be racist towards orcs. Yeah, dude, that's a red flag right there. You should have ran. You should have just ran fast. I asked if there was any other orc players at the table. He said no, so I say, okay, cool. I figured I could skate by this as long as he wasn't forcing me to be actively racist to someone who was physically sitting at the table. And as it turns out, this didn't turn out to be an issue in the campaign at all, for reasons that will become clear later. So the game starts, and there are a few idiosyncrasies that get under my skin, but not in a major way. For example, DM rolls a d20 behind the screen for literally everything. DM, does the ship have cannons? Roll. Yes. Ask him if he has any magic items in the shop. Rolls. Yes. What items? What are you looking for? A +1 rapier. Roll. Yes. He gives it to you. Wait, I don't have to pay for it? Rolls. Nope, he just gives it to you. Oh my god, what is this? Hold on, this DM is taking the Baldur's Gate, like, roll the dice thing to the extremes. You can't roll on everything. You don't have to roll on everything. Is this DM new or something? Do I get the sense this guy's lying to me? Rolls. No, you believe him. We didn't roll persuasion. He rolled behind the board. We didn't roll perception. He rolled behind the board. We didn't roll inside. He rolled behind the board. In a better DM, I could see this being a tool to make us less certain about the world and our place in it. In his hands, it seemed like he was flipping a coin to answer every single question we had. Then, in the very first session, he killed my character. We were on a pirate ship and a giant shark attacked us out of nowhere. We rolled initiative. The shark went first. I happened to be near the railing. The shark jumped out of the water and bit me for 50 damage. I was a level 3 rogue. I had 23 hit points. So I died instantly. Oh my god. DM, you gotta hold back a little bit. You have a level 3 party. I mean, yeah, they get a huge part of their toolkit and everything because a lot of them get to choose a subclass finally and get to have a little bit of extra features every now and then. It depends from, you know, from subclass to class and everything. But still, level 3 is a really good solid point, but it's a starting solid point. Why do you put an enemy that could do 50 damage to a player that has 23 health without any ability to, like, even what, like, dodge or out of the way? Why not just roll extra dice to see if the player maybe takes half damage or dodges out of the shark bite or something? I don't know. Christ. Now, 5e's encounter building is a complete mess. I understand DMs who don't correctly judge scenarios' difficulty. DM looked shocked when I died. As an aside, he didn't know that double max HP damage killed a character. Me and Bard had to tell him that. Okay, yeah, never mind. The DM is brand new to this. Has to be. There's no way it's somebody that's experienced. They have to be just brand new and they're just going with their gut feeling and they think they know everything but they clearly don't know anything. Has to be just a brand new DM, right? DM immediately gave us all level 4 on the spot mid-combat. I'm kind of surprised about this, but you know what? I guess that's a way to solve it. The DM just thinking, oh, well, I don't want to kill my characters from the start. What is the best way to do it? I know. All you guys level up to level 4, so you can't die at this point. Imagine just leveling up mid-combat. You get to pick a feat or an ASI increase, and you just drop on a player like that? Huh? What? He took my new max HP amount for the hit, telling me I didn't insta-die because of it, which is quite some janky rule breaking, but again, something I could overlook. He made a mistake building the encounter. He was coming up with a solution for it on the fly. Then why not just reduce the damage right there instead of leveling people up? Leveling people up sounds way more intense or way more complicated than just halving the damage or reducing the damage. Instead of 50 damage, it's only 20 damage. And I have 3 health points left over and you're not dead. Or something. These kind of things were most of the DM's sins. But his final and worst offense was failing to rein in Sorcerer. Sorcerer was an ultimate murder hobo. Sorcerer also failed to understand how alignment worked. He insisted he was chaotic neutral. He was in fact chaotic evil. He was abrasive at the table, out of character, and probably an alcoholic, He was definitely drunk at every game I was present for. He was usually drunk when he arrived to our game that started at noon. His litany of crimes was extensive, but I'll include some highlights. You know how some DMs will give a party magic earrings that let them message each other at will? Sorcerer installed his rings in his organ and made sure that every other character knew every time he played the pipes that he... Wait. In his organ. Played the pipes. He put the piercing on his dick. We rescued a child from Sahagin. Sorcerer yelled at, abused, beat, and cast offensive spell at the child on a regular basis. He did this to let the child know the world was cruel and would be cruel to him. The child we had reached from Sahagin's slavery. Any social encounter we had, if Sorcerer didn't like the way it was going, if he was racist against the person we were talking to, anyone but a human or elf, or just got bored, fireball. At which point we were in combat and thrown out of another town or society. We were banned from virtually every civilization we ever met. Sorcerer insisted on first pick an old treasure, including melee weapons. He always took the best melee weapon. He was a sorcerer. When Fighter or I would try to argue, he would say, "You don't need the weapon to be good in combat. You're already good. I need the weapon to keep up with you." No, dear reader, he did not participate in melee combat. When we continued to argue, he asked DM if he could roll persuasion against each other. Since he was a sorcerer, he won every time, and DM said he had to give him the weapon. I think you get the idea what kind of player this guy was. Yeah, a complete prick, and the fact that the DM is just enabling the sorcerer's bad behavior, it just sucks, dude. What is this DM doing? Do they know the sorcerer ahead of time, or are they just so brand new, so fresh, so undercooked that they don't realize that the sorcerer is just being a complete and utter derailment to the entire storyline and affects the enjoyment of everybody at the table? Firstly, how do you just roll persuasion on another player character and just go with it? Maybe it's like a homebrew mechanic or something, but at most tables that I've played at, virtual tables, but still, the mechanic is just this. If you can just convince the other player or convince character to character and decide among player to player if it's convincing or not, rolling against each other is, well, I mean, it's not a sense of PvP, but there should be a little bit of ground rules of how you interact with in character, because I mean, that stuff is still important to know. But if you want to try to make a compelling argument towards another player, you make the compelling argument and the player decides if it's compelling enough. Sometimes you cannot make a compelling argument, sometimes you make a compelling argument enough to convince them, and you roll with that instead of this stupid system. Sorcerer is definitely a problem here, but the DM is enabling the problem even further, so there are two problems here. Fortunately, I would never know the full extent of Sorcerer's misdeeds. I love playing with Bard, Cleric, and Fighter, but I couldn't stand DM and Sorcerer. After 3 games at his table, I dipped. I lied to DM's face, telling him work had suddenly picked up and I was super busy. I left and never played with the DM or Sorcerer again. The final resolution of this story happened not long after, and it turns out to be a happy ending. Bard, Cleric, and Fighter soon got entirely fed up with the DM and Sorcerer. When Bard, who worshipped the Raven Queen, was forced by DM to raise an undead army for war, he rebelled and mutinied. The mutiny was in and out of game, since they were on a pirate ship and he had also decided to mutiny against the DM. Cleric, who worshipped a lawful evil god, was all for the chaos and joined the mutiny. Fighter, who was Bard's IRL friend, joined as well. Together, they destroyed every other ship in the pirate fleet, killed every undead soldier they had been forced to raise, and, I believe, killed Sorcerer, who decided to turn on them for reasons unknown. I forget the exact details, but they were either sailed off happily into the sunset or they died fighting on that ship as it sank under the waves forever. The reason I know this is that months later I came into a mead hall and chatted with Bard. He told me how the campaign had ended and he hadn't seen DM or Sorcerer since. But Bard had started his own campaign, with Cleric and Fighter both being players. Since I love Cleric and Fighter, and Bard of course, asked if I could join. Bard said he knew I was super busy and he wanted to have a very committed table with people making it to the game every week. I said, Bard, I lied to the DM's face. I hated that game, so I told him I was busy. I'm not busy. I want to play D&D. Bard laughed his ass off and told me to show up next Sunday. 6 years later, we're still playing together and great friends IRL, and have expanded our group into 2 different groups, with me DMing a campaign every other Thursday that Bard plays in. And the Bard DM in 2 different campaigns, one on alternating Thursday and one every couple of months, both of which I play in. We briefly did a D&D livestream as a group, which was fun, but too much work, so now we just upload audio recordings instead. We are each wrapping up another successful campaign and looking forward to starting our next ones. Not all horror stories have happy endings, but this one does. Lesson I hope you take away from this, dear reader: don't put up with crappy table. But if there are worthwhile players at the table, hold on to them, steal them, and make something new. You just might find your new forever group. The only thing I can really say is don't be the DM or the sorcerer, especially not the sorcerer. Sorcerer sounds really just immature. Anyway, all's well that ends well. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.